While Tim Tebow battles for a roster spot in Jacksonville, according to the latest report, there is one common complaint from Tebow's former coaches. It's that Tebow doesn't do anything to actively calm down the TebowMania hype that always surrounds him wherever he goes. Well, we are not doing anything there to help calm it down either. Shannon, is this a valid criticism?
Skip, I don't really know. This is what I do know from talking to a lot of people when Tim was there.
At Denver.
In Denver. What rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, it wasn't that he was charitable. It had nothing to do with his foundation. They wanted Tim to do all that stuff on his day off, which was Tuesday. And Tim didn't want to do it on his day off. He did some, but not nearly enough. He wanted to do it in pregame when all the cameras were around. And they wanted Tim to focus on football. And that rubbed him a wrong way. And nobody broached that. They talked to him about it, but they weren't as aggressive as they wanted to be because of the very reason that you said he was discriminated, getting kicked out of the league because of his religion.
So you're saying pregame, taking pictures with
all
kids?
Yes, and all that. It rubbed his teammates and a lot of people in the higher-ups the wrong way because it's like, are you focused? Because I see a lot of other guys, and that's not what they're doing, foundation work. On company's time. Now, if you want to do that on Tuesday, which is the player's day off, or if you want to do some of that on Friday after a short day, or Saturday, they would prefer you not do it on Saturday because, you know, this is right before the game, Skip, and obviously you can't do it if you're traveling. But they want your mind to start focusing on the task on Sundays. And Tim was unconcerned with that. And so that rubbed a lot of people in that building the wrong way. People keep saying, Tim, look, Reggie White wore his religion on his sleeve equally as devout as Tim Tebow. But Reggie's play, we talk more about Tim Tebow's religion than his play. And this notion, Skip, we got to stop this notion. I want to know the time, because I can give you a point in time when every other group has been discriminated against. I want someone to tell me the time in the year that a straight, white, Christian, or evangelical male has been discriminated against in America. Now, I can give you when blacks were discriminated against. I can give you when the Jewish community was discriminated against. Asian American and Island Pacific. I can give you the gay and lesbian LGBT community, the trans community. But I need somebody to give me the time in the year in which straight, white, Christian, evangelical males were discriminated against. So this notion that people are discriminated against Tim Tebow is not based in fact. Tim Tebow is a marginal player that's been given opportunity after opportunity, and I don't begrudge that. I don't begrudge that because I know a lot of guys that's been given opportunities, but it's opportunity in their field. Okay, I'm a coach, and I want to bring some player in. I'm going to bring him in, not after 6 years. Not after 6 years that you switch positions, but if you play DB, if you need to play safety, you're slowing down, okay, I'll bring you in as a safety. I'm not going to
Josh McDaniels had stayed afloat in your Denver with your Broncos, we might be having a very, very different story because Tim Tebow might have gone on and started for 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 years for your Denver Broncos because in his very first year starting, all he did was turn them around from 1-4 into the division champs, the #1 rushing attack in pro football, and he beat Pittsburgh in a home playoff game. That was an extraordinary start for a first-year starter because you know and I know how hard it is to just get thrown into a fire with a bad football team and turn it around as a first-year NFL starting quarterback. Hard. So here's what I learned in 2011. Because I had driven the Tebow bandwagon, well, obviously, we had hoped that maybe we could get him on the show at some point. We could not get him on the show because he did not do interviews. Late in that football season, we finally got him on for like 6 or 8 minutes via satellite from Denver. And it was on his off day, I believe, on a Tuesday. And we got him, and he is, I'll be upfront with you about this, he's not a very good interview because he's not very,
nothing.
I mean, he says nothing. He deals in cliches, and he sidesteps.
Very guarded.
Very guarded, but obviously if you ask him about his religion, he will tell you about his religion.
Right.
Because I don't want to get too deep into religion, but obviously he was born to missionary parents in the Philippines, and his mission in life, taught to him by his parents and by the Bible, is that you try to become a witness. You proselytize. You give your testimony to any and everybody who will listen to it, because that's what the whole New Testament is about. Jesus is telling his disciples, they're all fishermen, I need you to be fishers of men. That's what you do.
Right.
I don't like the label evangelical Christian. It's like, well, every Christian's supposed to be evangelical, right? I mean, that's your mission from the Bible.
Right.
Okay. So again, don't want to get too deep into this, but if you ask him, just like Reggie, or every time I hear Bradley Beal interviewed after the games, he said, "I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ." Says it every night.
Rivers.
You just get it, and it's pretty widespread.
Right.
It's fairly common that you hear that, and Tebow would do that. So he's wearing his religion on his sleeve. But to your point about Reggie, yep. Maybe Reggie would preach more than Tim would.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we could not get Tim to do an interview, and then after the season ended and he had lost the playoff game up in New England, I was at the Super Bowl in Indianapolis, and he did agree to sit with me for, I don't know, we did an extended interview, maybe 20 minutes, and that was the only thing that he did at that Super Bowl. So my point is, it wasn't like he was promoting himself outside the confines of the Broncos, because he really wasn't. His media availability was basically one day after practice and then after the game on Sunday. So I get what you're saying. I'd not heard that before, but I could see where some players would say, well, are you getting ready for the game, or are you getting ready to promote your charities? And I don't even know what the charities were, if they had won the right to come see him, or if they were.
I think it was like his foundation, I forget what, I don't know what his foundation was.
Were they handicapped kids, or were they kids who had diseases, or what? I don't know. But again, all I know is how he performed that year, and in the last 5 minutes of those games, he had the #1 QBR in all of pro football. And to me, I've got a 16-game body of work, and he went 9-7 in those games. And again, the team was 1-4 when he took it over. But the point was that, to me, that body of work indicates he's one of the great clutch players in the history of the league, in a pretty big body of work. I got a pretty large sample size. I can show you game after game after game in which he came up very clutch at the end of the game. Well, that's his talent, is he would just will himself into some crazed state, like we saw at halftime of the national championship game against my Oklahoma Sooners, where he goes somewhere else and he can compete at a high level, playing above his ability, under pressure, when he gets into that crazed state of his.
Well, what about the games in which he throws for 40 yards? What about the game in which he throws for 100 yards?
Well, one game at Kansas City, he did that, and then he hit Eric Decker with the touchdown pass that won the game in the last couple of minutes.
And think about that. He throws one touchdown to win the game, and he gets credit. Do you know how good your defense has to be to hold a team in the NFL in today's rule to where a touchdown wins the game?
Kansas City
you don't mention that.
Didn't exactly have Patrick Mahomes at that point.
But they still were very good, and it came down to them and the Broncos for winning the division. Skip. But you said he wasn't a great player, but he was getting privileges that's only reserved for great players. You don't let average and mediocre players be able to go and do all that stuff, have a foundation thing right before the game. You don't let average players do that. That's reserved for the Bradys, the Manning, the Drew Breeses. He was getting those privileges because they were so afraid of what you and what others like you were going to say. It's because of his religion. So they handled him with kid gloves.
Did he perform when it was time to perform? Yes, he did. Again and again. Did they win the AFC West? So clearly his charitable time commitments before games didn't stop them from winning the AFC West and winning a home playoff game.
But where is it somewhere in the Bible that says when you do good deeds, do not announce it with trumpets?
You know, it's like alms before men.
Yeah.
You know, which, one of your favorite players should take that into account.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So in other words, you keep doing all this stuff in front of cameras, and so some of that stuff needs to be behind, because if you, what are you doing? Because at the end of the day, Skip, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for them, or are you doing it for the attention?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Do you know?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, attention for what? I don't know what. Like, did he invite them to games and he'd give them their tickets?
Do you not know the camera's going to be at an NFL football game?
Sure.
So where are cameras more apt to be? At the pregame of an NFL game or on a Tuesday?
Okay, I don't know. I mean, you could be right or you could be wrong. Maybe he was doing it for the kids' sake, right? So to get them some attention?
The kids will be Tuesday. The kids will be able to make it available on Tuesday, make it Saturday.
I'm going to guess he did it on Tuesday also, if I know Tim Tebow, right? Do you think he worked any less? He worked any less hard than anybody else on the Broncos?
Well, like less hard?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he worked any less hard. I don't think he worked any more hard either.
Okay. Well,
I don't think he worked harder.
Okay. I think he works pretty hard at it. Not harder than anybody else, but whatever work he can do, I believe he had done.
But Skip, at some point in time, there comes a point in time that no matter how hard you work, you're just not talented enough to be able to compete at the level that a team needs you to compete at. And that's nothing wrong. That's not a slight, because you're able to do something that very few men have ever been able to do, which is hold a job as a player in the National Football League. That's not a knock. That's not to say Tim, because Tim Tebow, the mere fact that he stayed 3 years, and maybe that's all it, I mean, everybody's not going to have a Tom Brady or Adam Vinatieri type career, Skip. Okay. And that's okay.
Okay. So I believe that the media's focus on his religion, because remember, he Tebowed after touchdowns. He would just kneel and thank God after touchdowns. That was something Reggie White didn't do, something Bradley Beal. Although I do see Steph and others, they thank God after they make a three, right? Maybe Bradley, I'm not sure about that. But the point is that because of the focus on Tim's religion, he did become a circus of a media distraction for other teams. So other teams would try, like the Jets would try him,